Hello, welcome back to another FPL video. Hope everyone is doing well now. Almost at the end of Game Week 33, and today we're going to be looking ahead basically till the rest of the season, Game Week 34 to 38, looking at the differentials that could take you flying up the leaderboards for the back end of the season. If you're new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for daily FPL content. Hit the like button if you enjoy the video, and well, let's get straight on into this one. So firstly, we are looking at the attackers, and the main man in the middle there, scoring a hat-trick and getting an assist against Wolves, is Chris Wood, coming in with 10 goals and 3 assists so far this season. He's been injured for most of it, so for him still to have 10 goals and 3 assists, I'd say is pretty damn decent. And then he also is on penalties with an expected goal return of 0.49. He also does love to pick up the bonus points. If he scores, he's basically always getting 8 or even 9 bonus points. And Burnley themselves have some pretty decent fixtures. They're still kind of on the edge, I'd say, of a relegation scrap, so they're definitely going to be looking to at least pick up a couple more wins throughout the back end of the season. And Chris Wood, definitely one of the main men who's going to kind of take them in, or who's going to get them wins. Then we have Richarlison as the second option, coming in with 6 goals, 4 assists, with expected goal return of 0.47. I think Richarlison has actually picked up a few kind of FPL assists this year. That one against Leno being a prime example. If you go on his expected goals, he actually only got 3 assists, but because I was like, kind of have to add that in there because he did get an assist on FPL. And similar to Chris Wood, he does actually love to pick up bonus points, and it's definitely a good differential. Chris Wood, I didn't mention, is coming in at 2% basically owned. His effective ownership probably even lower than that. Richarlison coming in at about 8% ownership, and effective ownership obviously will be lower than that. A lot of people will own DCL still. Throughout the rest of the season, Everton do have very nice fixtures. They will play Aston Villa twice in basically the space of a week or 2 weeks, because Everton are due a double game week, and that's another massive reason why Richarlison, I think, is a good pick, a good differential punt for the rest of the season because of that double game week that Everton will get. And he's basically now playing Richarlison through the middle, where he can be kind of a lot more effective than when he was playing out on the wing. And then the final attacker we are looking at here is Callum Wilson, coming in this season with 10 goals and 5 assists, with an expected goal return of 0.69. It's funny because he's probably been out for one of the longest out of any of these. I mean, to be fair, him and Wood have been out probably similar amount of times, but Wilson still to have managed to get 10 goals and 5 assists for the period, the length of time that he's been out for, I'd say is pretty damn good. He came on in the last half an hour against Liverpool, should have scored. I mean, I say should have scored, had a goal disallowed, so he should have had a goal stand basically, and that goals should be 11. But Callum Wilson and Newcastle have some okay fixtures towards the back of the end of the season. That obviously still scrapping a bit in terms of relegation, but with the likes of Wilson, with the likes of St. Maximan back and fit, they look very, very dangerous. So I'd be back in Newcastle for this kind of back end of the season, and Callum Wilson could be a very good differential to kind of send you up them mini leagues. Then we move on into the midfielders, and I'm not gonna lie, it was quite hard to pick out certain midfielders who were kind of below 10% owned, who I thought were actually going to be very, very effective. And I have a couple who I kind of maybe aren't on here who I feel should get a mention as well. But the main man in the middle there, Rashford, coming at just below 10% ownership. I think below 10% you can kind of consider them as a differential, definitely in terms of overall. Maybe not in terms of mini leagues. Mini league is very kind of subject to what your mini leagues are looking like at the minute, but definitely from an overall perspective, Rashford can be considered as a differential, coming in with 10 goals, 8 assists so far this season, expected goal return of 0.42. We've seen him play up front against Leeds at the weekend, and it sort of shows that Rashford and I say Bruno Fernandes are the two main attackers in that Manchester United side, the two that they basically cannot go without. So I do think that Rashford could be a pretty solid pick towards the end of the season, especially now that kind of some of the other premium options aren't really performing, to be honest with you. Even Bruno Fernandes, if you want a bit of money, you could go down to Rashford. Rashford likely to have a double game week 35 as well, and I think just a more solid pick for me than Greenwood, who a lot of people have been going for this week because of the brace that he scored against Burnley. Then we come to my main man, Wilfried Zaha, coming in with 9 goals and 2 assists so far this season, an expected goal of 0.47. It's a bit of a shame for him because he was out injured for quite a long spell of time, and he could easily have gone and broken his kind of Premier League goal scoring record in a season. He still is very close to that. I think it was 10 goals that he scored in a season, so only a couple more and he will be breaking that. Crystal Palace do play against Manchester City in Game Week 34, so probably not the best to be bringing him in for that fixture, but Palace are going to do anything, it's going to be through Wilfred Zaha, and they have a really cracking double game week or potential double game week lined up for game week 35 against Southampton and Sheffield, and then have some pretty decent fixtures going on for the rest of the season after that. So Wilfred Zaha definitely looks like a very good differential for the kind of rest of the season. I think coming in at about 8% ownership which I think is a little bit higher than I thought he was going to be, but I think he's just generally quite a popular player. I think effective ownership will be a lot lower than that. I think a lot of people who do own him probably have owned him since the start of the season, and there are those account who are basically inactive. And then the final player we're looking at in terms of midfield is Harrison, a man that, to be fair, hasn't really got too much of a shout out. He's very much been in Rafinha's shadow for most of this season, but himself has been picking up a hell of a lot of points. I think he's at least on a par with Rafinha, may even have more points than him, just simply because of the playing points before Rafinha did enter the Premier League. But he's picked up 7 goals and 6 assists so far this season with expected goal return of 0.45. So he's been doing pretty well, and Leeds have some very, very good fixtures going on into the back end of the season. Playing at Brighton in game week 34, and then you've got the likes of West Brom, Southampton, and maybe even Burnley towards the back end of the season. So I think that Leeds look like a cracking team for the back end of the season, and Harrison could be a great differential to send you flying up those leaderboards. Then finally, looking at the defenders who, as I say, could send you flying up the leaderboards, being a bit differential. The main man coming in there first is Castan. Leicester coming in this season with 11 clean sheets with expected goals against of 1.28, one of the best expected goals against in the league, and his expected goal return is 0.16. It'll be interesting to see how they get on against Crystal Palace tonight. They do play against Southampton on Friday, so it's a very quick turnaround for them, and that is one thing to consider with the Leicester City assets, is they're playing a lot of football in a short period of time, but they are gunning for that Champions League spot. So I do think the Leicester City players are very good assets, and Castagna could be one with his attacking potential as well. We saw him at the start of the season picking up plenty of assists, obviously last weekend picking up an assist as well. So I think Castagna could be a very, very good option for the coming game weeks. Obviously could get a game week 35 double as well against Newcastle and Manchester United, I think, so may not be a bad asset at all to earn for, or to own for that game week. And then the next option we have here is the Leeds United number 10, Alioski, the left wing back, number 10. Leeds with 10 clean sheets so far this season. It was pretty surprising how most people consider them to be quite vulnerable at the back. They've actually kept the same amount of clean sheets as West Ham over there, who are considered as a pretty solid team, I would say. They do have a very, very high expected goals against, one of the worst expected goals against in the league though, of 1.71. So it kind of shows that if they do concede, they concede a lot, whereas on some games they just don't concede at all, with an expected goal return of 0.18. He did have a period where he was getting benched, sidelined quite a bit, but he seems over the last 3 games to have played full 90s. He seems like a bit more of a staple in that side as well, and we have seen him earlier on in the season absolutely smash it with the attacking returns. So he's definitely a differential that could send you flying up your mini leagues and up the leaderboards as well. Then the final kind of option we're coming to in this differential video is Vladimir Coufal. West Ham picking up 10 clean sheets so far this season with expected goals against of 1.47, which is very, very average. To be fair, that's probably dropped a little bit since they've lost Declan Rice and Creswell to injury. I think that Rice and Creswell are due back imminently. If not for the Burnley game, they will be back for the fixture after. The expected goal return of 0.24, which is actually very, very high, probably higher than I expected it to be from Coufal, getting on the kind of Trent levels of expected returns from Coufal. Playing on that right-hand side, he has been picking up some assists of late. It's kind of why everyone sort of picked him earlier on in the season, because they was like, oh, he can kind of match Creswell for attacking returns. Everyone gets rid of him, and then he goes and starts picking up some returns. So I do think towards the back end of the season, coming in at only 4.7 million, he is a player who offers a real good differential potential, especially now that everyone has gone for Creswell. Creswell obviously currently out injured. Coufal will play this game against Burnley, could easily go and get himself an attacking return, and has had plenty of opportunities to score actually, so we may actually see him go and bang one in at some point. And so these are the defenders to kind of take you through until the end of the season. One player maybe to mention, Holding, could be decent for Arsenal, although, you know, Arsenal probably not the greatest of defences. Any of the other kind of West Ham guys, obviously I'd say Dallas, I think, is essential for the rest of the season, but this obviously is not an essential video, it's a differential video, and so I think these defenders are the ones who could send you flying up those leaderboards. So I hope you have enjoyed this quick look at differentials from Game Week 34, basically until the end of the season. There were obviously a few players in there like Wilfred Zaha, probably best holding off until about, I'd say, Game Week 35 to bring him in the potential of a double. I am looking forward to seeing when these fixtures are going to be released, whether we do get this double game week that Ben Crellin is predicting, so that we can bring in the differentials that we want to bring in to kind of send us flying up the leaderboards. But if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for daily FPL content, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.